Art of the Graft, the curse of corruption in Thailand. This week's big issue in the Bangkok Post. This is Dave Kendall with The Big Issue, a video companion to the hard-hitting Sunday column by legendary Bangkok Post journalist Alan Dawson. This week, Alan writes, luxury watches, welfare program, scholarships for the poor, Rolls-Royce jet engines, Rajapak Park, GT200, Alpha 6, dirigible, monks. So many corruption cases that you pretty well need a database-supported PowerPoint presentation to keep track. Alan, since fighting corruption was one of the original justifications for the coup, why haven't the generals done it more effectively?
I think that's the $64 question. The field is always open to, especially a new government and especially a military regime, to have an actual crackdown on corruption that people in the country will accept as a crackdown. This means they must go after some high-ranking, high-profile people, which is exactly what General Prayut promised when he took over the government 4 years ago last month. And yet this has not occurred, and it's a very good question. I think maybe, possibly, it's the fear of retaliation from high-ranking people if you prosecute high-ranking people, but I'm not just sure.
I've had people say to me, in Asian culture, you've got to grease the wheel to do the deal. If you work for the government, you don't make enough money to support your family. You need something on the side. Is there a certain amount of so-called corruption we should accept?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, and I think the answer is no, but with qualifications. Everybody realizes that there's corruption in Thailand, and it's endemic, if not ingrained. But I think that tolerating corruption is a different category. And what people want to see in any corruption crackdown is that first and most of all, it must be the high-ranking people, it must be the high-profile people, otherwise no one is going to believe it. And so in that sense, leaving alone the 50 baht and 100 baht cases of corruption is probably okay, at least for a while.
Given that graft has been rampant under both elected and military governments, which is more likely to reduce corruption in the short and long terms, democracy or the military running the show?
I don't think it really matters. I think it matters on the personalities involved. I'll give you an example. In the 1990s, late 1990s, it was gospel in Thailand that the Minister of Defense had to be a general, current or retired. And the rather self-effacing Prime Minister Chun Lik-pai said, no, anybody can be defense minister, and he became defense minister, and there was no reaction to that, really. I think that any government could launch a real crackdown on real high-level corruption. I don't think it matters if it's military or otherwise, because I think the country would back it no matter who the Prime Minister might be or what the system might be.
Alan Dawson, Big Issue columnist, thanks for joining us. Read The Big Issue every Sunday in the Bangkok Post print edition, the e-newspaper, or at bangkokpost.com. What do you think about corruption in Thailand? Leave your comments below or on the bangkokpost.com website. And join us next Sunday for another Big Issue in the Bangkok Post. I'm Dave Kendall. Have a great week.